Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. Hope all of you are doing well, preparing well for the upcoming prelims examination with your full G's and enthusiasm. This is a video session on daily news and editorial analysis dated 9th of January. Through this video session, I'll be discussing the important news and editorial both from the Hindu and Indian Express. The analysis of the news will specifically cater the aspirant of civil services examination, state public service commission examination, and various examination that is conducted on one-day basis. So through this particular discussion and analysis, we'll see the important news, relevance, and its important specifically with regards to the competitive examination. So first, I'll give you the highlights of the day, then we'll proceed with the in-depth analysis of the news one by one. Starting with the highlights of the news. The first important news talks about the DRDO counter drone system, something very important and a milestone achievement for DRDO. We'll see the detail to that. Second important news talks about the BGCA revision in the duty norms for pilots, something very important, and it was long demanded, and even to the context where the safety of passengers is concerned, this particular changes was something which was mandated. The third important news talks about the Prime Minister's suggestions to roll out the new criminal law bill, which was recently passed by the Parliament. इसकी implementations की बात की गई है. Finally, it will be started with UT gradually coming up with all the states. The second last news talks about the recent change in the government. I mean, not exactly the change. The Bangladesh government, the earlier Prime Minister, has again won the election. So how it will shape the India and Bangladesh relation, we'll see the detail to that. And I'll be concluding the session with editorial that talks about understanding the EU carbon border tax, which is a bit detrimental to India's manufacturing and other sector. We'll see the detail where it will be causing trouble for India and what are the repercussions that will be there, and for what rationale this particular carbon tax has been brought in by the European Commission. We'll see the detail to that. Starting with the in-depth analysis of the news one by one. So the first important news is about the DRDO counter drone system, something very important. For one-day examination, it can be asked about the organization which is involved. So DRDO is the Defense Research and Development Organization. They have successfully developed the counter technology to address the part of use of growing. I mean, the demand of drone was actually सर्च इन इंडिया. आई मीन डिफेंस फोर्सेस की बात करें और भी कई ऐसे पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस की भी बात करें, वहाँ पे ड्रोन की ज़रूरतें बड़ी हैं. दिस वाज स्पेसिफिकली टू इंश्योर द सर्वेलेंस, लॉजिस्टिक एंड मिलिट्री ऑपरेशन. नाउ to make it more efficient and more indigenization, DRDO has come up with own drone counter system. Now, what is this all about? We'll give the details about that. अगर DRDO की counter drone systems की बात करें, is a state of art system which was developed and it is now ready for production. See, we'll start the productions of it. Production start होगी, and there are some other PSUs which is also working in collaborations with that. This will ensure कि जो इंडिया की इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी के साथ साथ जो आर्म्ड फोर्सेज है, वी है आर्म्ड फोर्सेज विच आर वर्किंग इन द डिफरेंट बॉर्डर एरिया. देन वी हैव इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज विच इज वर्किंग टुवर्ड्स द लॉ इन कोऑर्डिनेशन विद द लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज. इन सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को जरूरत है इस तरह की काउंटर ड्रोन सिस्टम की. नाउ द प्रोडक्शंस राइट were actually been transferred to the Bharat Electronic Limited, Bengaluru, and it's a move to boost the domestic manufacturing in the country. अगर DRDO की बात करें, they have been entered into the TOT, that is the transfer of technology agreement, with 4 other Indian firms that is working towards producing the anti-drone system. So definitely to have a more capabilities, अगर overall productions की बात करें, productions on a higher side, we need partners, right? We need partner if it is more towards indigenization, that will be more helpful. So these partner has been diverted into 4 other categories which will be making and manufacturing the part of requirement counter drone system. Now this strategic move not only boosted India's defense capabilities but will also strengthen the national security and even for the defense technology. See, when it comes to the part of national security, India has been doing its level best with the part of technology transfer, either from the collaborations, right, we are doing with other countries, and even ensuring the Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? So Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, these are some of the important things that is working to ensure that yes, India is on the right track and even looking forward with more robust defense technology. Now बात करें DRDO की endeavor की in terms of drone development, how it has actually come. See, this was something which was there from the part of the inception, and even the government has come up with the policy in terms of drone productions. तो उसको देखते हुए drone की surveillance, logistic, combat, India is now equipped with a potent indigenous counter drone technology, जो कि एक बहुत ही मेजर अचीवमेंट है इंडिया के डिफेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस में. Recently we have seen that how the globe master has actually come up with the landing in the night. और इस तरह की डिफेंस की अगर कैपेबिलिटीज की बात करें, यू कैन सी दैट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज बीन पुटिंग इट्स best possible efforts towards making the more Indianization, and ever the efforts and endeavor are made towards making India's defense preparation as par at the global level. Now, besides the counter drone technology, DRDO ने investigations resources की भी बात की in developing various drone, including the micro drone. So the drone which is in the demand, as I've told you, is a demand by the various defense forces. उसके अलावा जो माइक्रो ड्रोन्स हैं जो कि लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज के द्वारा ज़रूरत की जाती है, उन लोगों के लिए भी माइक्रो ड्रोन्स की कॉन्सेप्ट को बनाई जाएगी. Among the noteworthy project that DRDO is actually doing, first is TAPS Medium Altitude Long Endurance. This is also known as MAIL. This is unmanned air vehicle UAV, or for ISTAR, that is intelligence, surveillance, and targeted acquisitions and recognition applications. So this is how the entire part, the broader roadmap is actually worked by the DRDO. So all this program is being executed by DRDO. Now there's short range armed UAV anchor for recognition, surveillance, and low intensity conflicting situation. This will be specifically used by the state police. अगर बात करें स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की, स्टेट पुलिस की, या फिर लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज की, वो इस तरह के शॉर्ट रेंज आर्म्ड यूएवी आर्कर्स की भी यूज कर पाएंगे. Now there are some other drones, which the category of drone which is there in the industry. So there is first called multi-rotor drone, which have multiple rotors. It has different part, lithium batteries use की जाती हैं, or used for aerial photography and videography. Then we have single drone system that takes off vertically, right? Or this can be use on gasoline engine and even on the battery. Then we have flying wind drone, right? That takes off at the angle and ground on the similar distance. तो अलग अलग पर्पस के लिए अलग अलग variety of drones हैं. Now, India has also made a collaborations with the United States, where MQ-9B Predator drones will be there in India. These are some of the world most advanced version of the drone that India will be having, and the part of alignment and MOU has already been signed. India will be soon getting this MQ-9B Predator drones. Now moving ahead, DGCA has revised the duty norms for pilots, something very important and even long demanded. Specifically, apart from the male pilot, there are female pilot that is also working in the aviation sector. This will help them a lot. So the Director General of Civil Aviation has come up with the new flight duty rule regulation, which has come up with more flexibility and curbing out some of the harsh rules that was earlier there. सो प्रपोज चेंजेस की अगर बात करें, जो डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ सिविल एविएशन है, डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ द सिविल एविएशन, द एपेक्स बॉडी विच रेगुलेट द पार्ट ऑफ एविएशन सेक्टर, have introduced the new flight duty regulation, and that will be something that will be providing more time. अगर रेस्ट की बात करें, if you look at the rest hour, precisely जो रेस्ट आवर हुआ करती थी पहले, that was only 36 hour. Now this has been changed to 48 hour. This is a bigger change, and the visible change that has been brought in, and the sufficient time for recovery will be there from the cumulative fatigue that actually pilot is ongoing. They have to travel in a shift and even continuously, so this will ensure that they are taking a proper rest. Now the definition of night has been amended from 00 hour to 6 hour, which was revised by the regulation under जो पहले की जो 5 hours तक के लिए थी, right? So this was something which was recently changed, and DGC has also reduced the maximum flight time for pilot in a day and in a night to 8 hours, and cut down maximum landing, that is in a day or two. And even to tell you about the circadian rhythm, जो circadian rhythm body की काम करती है, वो actual में अगर देखें तो 2 hours morning 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. right? This is something, and 4 a.m. you can take precisely 4 a.m. यहाँ पे बॉडी की जो फंक्शनिंग है वो सबसे आई मीन दे आर नॉट एक्चुअली अलर्ट मोड। इस टाइम पे जो हमारी बॉडी है वो अलर्ट मोड में नहीं होती है, तो इस टाइम पे इस तरह के काम करना भी बहुत ज़्यादा, आई मीन फ्रॉम द perspective of civil aviation it is danger. Now, these are the norms which is there by, I mean, the global standard even medical fraternity calls about the circadian rhythm, which should be, I mean, this time should be actually avoided for alertness work. Now, new FTLD norms has also been shared with the airlines industry is required to comply with the revised norm that is from 1st of July 2024. तो 1st of July 2024 से इसकी सारी implementation होगी. Every airlines will have to ensure that they are mandated to provide 48 hours of the week, I mean the off which is required, that has been increased, the rest are और भी जो टाइमिंग की बात है वो सारे उनको implement करनी mandatory होगी. Now, moving ahead, incorporating the global best practices, the DGCA, which has come up with the changes, has also seen some of the best practices which is going in the world. So, for US, we have Federation for Aviation Administration. उसके अलावा यूरोपियन यूनियन एविएशन सेफ्टी एजेंसीज हैं जो कि EU की एजेंसी, दीज आर एक्चुअली द यूरोपियन यूनियन एजेंसीज दैट कमिंग विद द रेगुलेशन. तो उन रेगुलेशन की कुछ बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को इंडिया में अडॉप्ट की गई है. And the revised FTDL regulation has also formulated after an extensive data analysis, feedback from various stakeholders, including the airline operators, the pilot association, and the individual. So government has taken the whole stakeholders into consideration with forming of this policy, and DCGS has finally notified, which will be implemented by all the aviation sector, the aviation industry that is actually working, जो भी domain expert उसमें होंगे. Now, the other data that will talk you about the fatigue, which is there with the part of the pilots, which is there, 43% said that they were fatigued for the next flight. 54.2% said that suffer from the excessive daytime sleepiness. 73% of pilots have blamed the early morning departure for fatigue. 71% said they don't have going to the cockpit due during the fatigue, and 69% said that they're not focusing on fatigue management. 97% said that DGC are not doing enough to manage the fatigue. So this was something long pending demand. This was not over pitched part, but again it was something that was in a lukewarm stage. But finally, after a lot of efforts which was made at the individual level and at the association level, government and finally the DGCA has come up with a detailed guideline to this. Now, moving ahead, a rollout of the 3 new criminal laws in the union territories. This is what the Prime Minister has said. Annual conference हो रही है Director General of Police. The DGPs and IGPs conference are actually taking place in Jaipur. So there, the Prime Minister has said that the implementation of the new criminal law will focus on the data storage and security, and implementation should start first from the UT. तो यूटी से स्टार्ट करने की बात की गई है, एंड चंडीगढ़ वुड बी द फर्स्ट यूटी फ्रॉम विच इट विल बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड. लाइकली गवर्नमेंट हैज येट टू मेक एन ऑफिशियल अनाउंसमेंट. Now, roadmap क्या होगी? The government is considering a phased implementation of this 3 laws notified under the part, जहाँ पे दिसंबर से सारे यूटीज में से करने की बात की गई है. And the Prime Minister has proposed that this will be by the end of 2024, expanding the initial plan of implementing only initially in the Chandigarh, right? Now, it will be discussed with the every state that would have a flexible implementation of the law in the phase manner. तो ऐसा नहीं है इकट्ठे सारे states में इसको करनी है. It will be on a phased manner to ensure that each state are getting a substantial time. And why we require time? Because we need our policemen to have a training, a formal training about the recent law that has been, changes that has been proposed in the earlier laws as well. Now, background की अगर बात करें, जो 3 criminal laws हैं, that was first introduced in Lok Sabha in August this year only, 2023. I mean the last year 2023. We are in 24 right now. So भारतीय न्याय संहिता, भारतीय नागरिक सुरक्षा संहिता और भारतीय साक्ष्य बिल, that 3 bill was actually there in the parliament. Now, revised criminal bills में, I'll tell you precisely through a picture that will give you a more clear impression on that particular part. So we'll see how the changes has been made. First, we have Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. This has replaced the Indian Penal Code. Then we have Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, that was earlier known as the Code for Criminal Procedures, and we have Bharatiya Sakya Bill, that is known as Indian Evidence earlier. तो ये कुछ इसके important key takes away हैं. You can check here that how this section has been framed, and this is something which is helping. And even to an extent, the criminal law reform has bring terrorism offense and even the general crime law for the first time. Even sedition has been made for mob lynching as a punishable offense to the death. So बहुत सारे important changes हैं. You will be able to see the other changes that has been proposed in upcoming PRS video that will be published very soon. So वहाँ पे आप उसको ज़रूर देखें, मैंने डिटेल में वहाँ पे आपको explain किया. Now, moving ahead, India seeks people centric partnership with Bangladesh. The Prime Minister of India has congratulated her counterpart that with the historic visit for the fourth consecutive victory in the parliamentary election. Bangladesh has recently underwent on a parliamentary election where the ruling party has been in the power, and this is for the first time, fourth time है जहाँ पे शेख हसीना की गवर्नमेंट वापस कंटिन्यू हुई है. Now, this is precisely important for PSI or aspirant. उनके लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. इंडिया और नेबरहुड के रिलेशंस दे आर मेंशन इन द टॉपिक एज वेल. Now, fifth term in the office, Sheikh Hasina, the leader of Awami League, this is the party which is there. So, she has secured her fifth term in Bangladesh as a prime minister, recently concluded in the national election. The opposition has boycotted the poll, expressing the concern with the fairness of the voting process. See, this is something which goes with every particular state, particular country precisely. So, we are not getting into that details. Unofficial results were from the election commissions that Awami League of 3 out of 299 states that was there. This was a simple majority that they have actually won with. Now, मेजर बायलैटरल रिलेशनशिप की अगर बात करें इंडिया और बांग्लादेश के बीच में जो रीसेंट डेवलपमेंट हुई है, अखुरा अगरतला रेल लिंक इज समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आई हैव स्पेसिफिकली मेड अ डिस्कशन टू दिस. अगर आपने इस वीडियो को नहीं देखा है, डू चेक इट आउट. आई हैव एक्सप्लेन हाउ दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट विल हेल्प स्पेसिफिकली बोथ कंट्रीज. अगरतला को भी हेल्प होंगी, उसके साथ साथ अखुरा जो रीजन है खास करके बांग्लादेश में उनको भी बेनिफिट होगी. द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ 15.064 किलोमीटर लॉन्ग रेल लाइन will actually started in 2018. Now, development partnership की अगर बात करें, Bangladesh is the biggest development partner of India. We have extended 3 line of credit of 8 billion to Bangladesh in the last 8 years, जो कि specifically infrastructure development में है. We have seen roadways, the railways, shipping and port. These are the part of infra development that India has helped as a line of credit. Now, we have friendship pipeline that India and Bangladesh is intended to eastern side, West Bengal के साथ, बांग्लादेश के साथ collaborations की गई है natural gases में, and even aiming to enhance the cooperations between the two nations, promoting economic and diplomatic ties. Now, moving ahead with the editorial for the day, understanding the EU carbon tax. Precisely, this article talks about the bottom part where the part of the negative consequences of this carbon border tax which India will have to brown with, and even what are the downside of this carbon border adjustment mechanism which EU has actually proposed. We'll see the detail to this. I have already made a detailed video explaining you about the EU carbon border tax. If you have watched, well and good. If not, you can directly search by typing in Google that carbon border tax mechanism by the Apti Plus. You will get the details of that. Now, what are the issues that I'll be discussing? First, we'll see the EU carbon border adjustment mechanism. India की क्या concern है, India के पास क्या क्या options हैं, और the bottom line. So starting ahead, first that is with the backgrounder part. India is facing a significant challenge. जहाँ की अगर बात करें यूरोपियन यूनियन की कार्बन बॉर्डर एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म जो है, which is creating problem for India and specific for the manufacturing sector. कुछ स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर्स हैं जिनको ज़्यादा परेशानी होगी. आई विल गिव यू द डिटेल ऑफ दैट एज वेल इन अ वाइल. द पॉलिसी एम्स टू हैव अ कार्बन intensive import into the EU stating from 1st of 2023 is in the full implementations by 2026, but इसकी implementation already 2024 से हो गई है. This has been doing the discussions where the EU and India is regarding the potential impact of the CBM. इसकी impact होनी है इंडिया को. These are the negative consequences. The Commerce Ministry has expressed the concern that this carbon mechanism is an ill-conceived and warned that many of Indian sector will be a death kennel which we will be facing in the Indian manufacturing specifically. Now, EU carbon border adjustment mechanism, just to give you a brief definition and understanding of this, this is a tax which is imposed on the this is a adjustment tax is a duty on import based on the amount of carbon emissions, right, resulting in the productions of the product that is in question. और जो वैसे प्रोडक्ट जो EU आते हैं, EU कंट्रीज में आते हैं, उन पे टैक्स लगाई जाएंगी. सो द EU carbon border adjustment mechanism puts a price on the carbon emitted during the productions of the carbon intensive good entering the EU. तो ऐसे प्रोडक्ट जिसमें CO2 की इमिशंस हुई हैं और वो प्रोडक्ट यूरोपियन यूनियन आ रहे हैं तो उनके आने पे एक बॉर्डर टैक्स लगाई जाएगी. The part of the carbon tax discourages the emissions as it is related and affects the part of productions and export. The CBAM enter into the force with the transitional phase of 1st on October. A permanent system जो है वो come into force from 1st of January 2026. Implementation has gradually started. नाउ इंडिया के क्या कंसर्न है. बहुत सारी ऐसे इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्टर्स है जिनको इम्पैक्ट होगी. अगर CBAM की बात करें, इंडिया इज एक्सपेक्टेड दैट दिस विल इम्पैक्ट द इंडियाज आयरन, स्टील और एल्यूमिनियम एक्सपोर्ट that is worth of 8 to 9 billion headed into the European and UK market. Now, the part of likely to impact India's steel, aluminium, cement, fertilizers, leading to the increase in the prices of Indian companies in the EU market. उसके अलावा this will reduce the competitiveness in the demand, and India is considering the relief measures such as compensatory effective exports to mitigate the carbon tax जो कि EU और UK ने they have imposed specifically and maintain the global competitiveness, ताकि ये जो ओवरऑल इंडिया के जो सेक्टर्स है वो उसकी competitiveness भी बने रहे. इसके लिए compensation की बात की है. Now, if you look at the sector precisely, that will be more impacted with this CBDM Act which is there. तो इसमें कुछ सेक्टर्स हैं स्टील स्पेसिफिकली इम्पैक्ट करेंगी, एल्यूमिनियम, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, फर्टिलाइजर्स एंड सीमेंट. सो दीज आर द ब्रॉडली 5 categories of sectors which will be hugely impacted due to the implementations of the carbon border adjustment mechanism which is imposed by the European Union. Now, India के पास क्या क्या options हैं? India has faced the limited options dealing with this framework. First, India has opposed to challenge this on the part of the violations that is actually on the responsibilities agreed upon the Paris Agreement, जहाँ पे developing countries को और time देने की बात की गई थी. Another options left with is to involve in EU collecting the tax, returning fund affecting countries with the green technology. उसके अलावा जो pragmatic approach होगी वो CABM के progressive defensive phase को लेकर के 26 से final implementations की बात की गई है. On the negotiation part, EU need careful monitoring of the potential resolution. उसके अलावा India can lodge a complaint against the CBDM in the World Trade Organization, citing the special and differential treatment of the provision. So these are the options that is left with India, and India will definitely explore all of them. We are not making intention towards inclined towards having more carbon intensive part of the productions, but being a country which has not taken part of the advantage, and even अभी भी कई से सेक्टर्स है जिनको डेवलप करनी है, उसके लिए हमें कम से कम थोड़ी कंपनसेशन की जरूरत पड़ी. Now, the bottom line, India has identified one of the top 8 sectors and negative consequences for the CABM. मैंने sectors आपको बता दिए कौन कौन से sectors हैं. The UK announcement is implementing the carbon border adjustment mechanism by 2027 is likely to impact India's export. EU के अलावे जो UK है उनकी भी अपनी mechanism होगी, वो 27 से implement करेंगे. उसके repercussions इंडिया को झेलने होंगे. And even India must urgently develop a carbon taxation measures aligned with the Paris Agreement. That is a principle to protect the industry. So this is how, this way is very very important. If you're writing in mains paper, make sure आप ये पॉइंट जरूर लिखिए कि इंडिया को अपनी कार्बन टैक्सेशन मेजर्स जो कि अलाइन हो पेरिस एग्रीमेंट से उस तरह की कोई पॉलिसी बनाने की जरूरत है, सो दैट आवर सेक्टर, स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर लाइक एल्यूमिनियम, स्टील एंड अदर सेक्टर कैन सस्टेन एंड इवन मेक अ सब्सटैंशियल प्रोग्रेस. Now, moving ahead with the answers and discussion for the yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is B. मैंने आपसे एक्सप्लोरोमीटर सैटेलाइट के बारे में पूछा था. इसमें करेक्ट ऑप्शंस हैं 1 और दूसरे जो ऑप्शंस करेक्ट हैं वो है ऑप्शन 3. 2 is not the correct option. So read out the detailed explanation and check out what you have marked as a correct option. The second question was about the psychoanalysis. इसके दोनों options correct हैं, option 1 and option 2. You can read the detailed explanation here and check what you have marked as a correct option. Now, daily MCQs question for the day. The first question is about the dynamic asset allocation. This has been reported in the newspaper. It entails to modify the proportion of asset portfolio, especially with the overall market performance. The DAA provide portfolio managers to consider the flexibility in selecting the investment. It can be mutual fund or stocks. Now, compared to the strategic allocations, DAA generally lower in the transition cost. So if you have read, it would be very easy for you to mark the correct option. How you can participate? Simply write question number 1 in the comment section followed by your correct option. You can drop your answer in the comment section down below. Now, moving ahead with the second question for the day is about the National Real Estate Development Council, NAEDESCO, serve as the industry association with the part of real estate sector in India. It operates within the framework of the Union Ministry of Finance. So this is again an easy question, but if you have not read, it would be tough for you to come to the conclusion. You can use your logical reasoning to come to a conclusion. So simply write question number two, followed by your correct option A, B, C, or D, and you can drop that in the comment section down below. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQs. And if you have any other concern about test series programs, any other part of the program that we're running with, we'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being connected.